Training. I'm Robert Balarjan. Today we're going to focus on some user training on reporting and showing using Jira with Report Builder, and really being able to make sure that you get the most out of your reporting with Jira and the IBM ELM suite. Things you should know about. Basically, we want to show how Jira artifacts are going to show up in Report Builder, so you can incorporate them in your reports just like you do any other ELM artifacts. What information is available, and some specialties about using Jira queries and global configurations, and give you some guidance on how to be able to best take advantage of that. And really, I think it makes most sense to be able to show this live. So this is going to be a demo-rich session where we're going to just show some live details within Report Builder, and I'll point out some things along the way. So let's get to it. So this is Report Builder. We're operating in 702 here. Should look familiar to most people. We'll start with just actually building a report. The first thing to point out is the data source. The data source, we have a couple options when we're working with Report Builder. Usually we're using Lifecycle Query Engine or Lifecycle Query Engine Scope by Configuration, meaning we're going to add some GC filters in there. Those are the two options you want to pick when you work with Jira data. IBM is not populating the data warehouse with Jira information, so we're really focusing on the LQE content. So let's start with LQE scope by configuration. When we go to limit the scope, I'm actually going to focus on the projects that we've been working with, and what you'll see is one of the quirks that I talked about. So training project, if you remember right, that's actually the name of our Jira project that we've been working with. And we'll see that it actually says CCM project area. Basically, think of this as saying it's a change project area. We'd love it to be able to say Jira. That's just not how the tools are suffixing this information. This isn't editable by us, but that information is available. We'll also go ahead and add our requirements content in there as well as an option. And when we hit continue, what you'll see is we'll actually be filtered with a set of artifacts that we can utilize in this. So under change request, you'll see change request has a Jira issue as well as a work item. We're going to go ahead and use a Jira issue. That gives us the most attribute contents. The change request uses the common contents. The Jira issue uses all the contents that we create available. And then we can create a simple relationship. So in this case, we want to do a Jira issue. We can do, we've been focusing a lot on, in the training session, on implements requirements. So we can go ahead and look down here and find implements requirements and pick an artifact type. In this case, I'm going to just use the generic requirement because it makes sense for us to be able to look at some very basic information here. And then we can go ahead and at least do an initial run of this report because I think it gives us some good information here. We're going to filter on our training 2.0 configuration. And so when I run this, what you'll see is that we have Jira issues and requirements. So we actually are able to, and I can actually open up one of these in another tab. And then you can actually see the content within Jira. You'll see that training project that we talked about. So we can see the contents in the report. We can navigate over to our Jira issues the same way we can navigate over to our requirements artifacts as well. You'll see a little quirk that happens in Report Builder. There's some customization for it to allow it to do rich previews for the internal tools that it doesn't provide for external tools. It's some of the scripting that's actually built into Report Builder. So you have all the content in Jira. You don't necessarily have the rich hovers. We haven't seen that be much of an issue. But you can navigate to any of those contents like we talked about. We navigated over to the requirement within Doors Next. We see that Jira issue on there. Now, that's the basics of reports. Understand that you can go ahead and do all the nice things that you might want to do. So let's just do a couple simple things that make this a little bit easier to read. Let's go ahead and remove that project area because we know which project we're limiting to. Let's go ahead and sort based on the Jira issue ID. That way it actually groups all those things together. We can refresh and be able to see a more structured content of that. In fact, we could actually do, let's go ahead and sort based on the title too. And we can refresh that. You'll see a much cleaner a sampling of this. This way we can see specific issues in Jira, and then the links that they have to the implements requirements that are handled in the other systems. Now you also can go ahead and add some additional attributes if you want. You'll see on the Jira issue here we have a set of attributes that we can utilize. So we can use something like, let's do creation date. We can add the creation date in here. And just as easy to be able to do that. Let's go ahead and put this back up near the Jira issue so we can sort this columns, and then we can do a refresh and be able to see that. In this way we can see additional attributes. Now those attributes you saw there are ones that allows us to be able to have some visual sense of that information as well as add additional content. You can extend the Jira attributes that are available. That's in the resource shapes. Talk to your admin. There's a training video on that as well. So you can be able to add some of your custom Jira content to Report Builder as well. A couple special things on GCs that you'll be able to notice here. If we look at the actual report that we have here, we run this report. What this will do is it will allow us to be able to navigate over to those requirements in Training 2.0, meaning that any of these requirements are specifically that version. So there's no filtering of the Jira issues based on specific global configuration, because the global configuration is actually applied to the link data. It is just in the report builder, it's actually picking the version 2 of those requirements. You can add some additional content in here, so additional filters. So think about this: if you want to be able to focus on a specific release that you're working in Jira, you can always add that type of condition. So if I'm in here, I can go ahead and say, let's look fixed version. So let's actually pick release 1.0. We can add that filter in there. Let's go ahead and see how that actually operates here. And so we should be able to run this report and be able to filter on that content and be able to see that we're going to filter only on things that actually have that fixed version field set to 1.0. We could even take a look at this, and best way to be able to visualize this, we could add that fixed version in here as well and be able to see fixed version added in here. And the other note is we probably actually want to do that on 2.0 because we're actually working in the 2.0 GC, so we want to keep this data consistent. Let's go over here. Let's make an edit to this and say this. We actually want to have this to be release 2.0. We can update that. Let's go ahead and run that report. And we should be able to see here's the release 2.0. This makes sure that we actually focus on only the Jira issues that has links to requirements in release 2.0. So it's a way to be able to do some of the filtering you might want to do. Obviously, we can group some of these things together a little bit more, but make sure that you have your data within a report builder and be able to leverage it. So hopefully that helps you out, gets you started with doing reports with IBM ELM data with Jira and Report Builder. Thanks and take care.